The shuttle landed on Station Prometheus with a soft hum. 2,000 recruits stepped out into the massive docking bay. They came from 40 different species across the galaxy. Some were tall with blue skin. Others had 4 arms or eyes that glowed in the dark. A few floated instead of walking. And among them, almost invisible in the crowd, walked a small human girl named. She was 19 years old. Her black hair was cut short. Her face showed nothing. No smile, no fear, no excitement. She carried a single bag over her shoulder and moved through the crowd like water through stones. No one bumped into her. No one noticed her. This was exactly what she wanted. The Galactic Coalition Academy was the most famous military school in known space. It had trained warriors and leaders for 600 years. Humans had only discovered space travel 80 years ago. To the ancient species, humans were bobbies, newcomers, weak and short-lived creatures who had not yet proven their worth. Found her assigned room and unpacked her few belongings. Her roommate was a human girl was tall and confident with sharp eyes. She was already top of her class in theoretical warfare. She looked at and waited for an introduction. Said nothing. She simply nodded once and continued arranging her things. "I'm," the tall girl said. "What's your name?" Pointed to her name tag on her uniform. "You don't talk much, do you?" Shook her head slightly and lay down on her bed, facing the wall. Frowned but said nothing more. She had met quiet people before, but something about this girl felt different. It was not shyness. It was something else, something deliberate. The first week was orientation. Recruits attended lectures about the Academy's history, rules, and expectations. They learned about the different species they would train alongside. They were tested on their physical abilities, their mental sharpness, and their psychological health. During all of this, never spoke, not once, not a single word. The medical staff examined her carefully. They scanned her brain and checked her throat. Everything was normal. She could speak perfectly well. She simply chose not to. They marked her file as socially deficient and moved on to other concerns. A human boy named noticed sitting alone at meals. He was loud and friendly, the opposite of her in every way. He made it his personal mission to become her friend. "Hey, silent girl," he called out one day, sliding into the seat across from her. We're both from the Korean Peninsula sector. That makes us practically family out here." Looked at him. Her eyes studied his face for exactly 3 seconds. Then she returned to eating. "You know, people think you're weird," continued, not discouraged at all. "But I think you're interesting. Anyone who can stay this quiet for this long has to be thinking about something important." For just a moment, the corner of his mouth moved. It might have been the beginning of a smile, or it might have been nothing. Physical training began in the second week. Instructor led the combat exercises. He was 7 feet tall with skin like living crystal. He had been teaching at the academy for 400 years. He had seen every kind of recruit. He had trained champions and watched failures. Scored average in every test. Her strength was ordinary. Her speed was acceptable. Her endurance was nothing special. Barely noticed her among the hundreds of recruits. Then came the sparring matches. Was paired against a recruit. They were famous throughout the galaxy for their precognitive reflexes. They could sense attacks before they happened. They were nearly impossible to hit in combat. The match lasted 4 seconds. They struck 3 times and fell to the mat. She got up slowly, bowed to her opponent, and walked away without expression. Marked her score as poor and moved on to the next match. That night, alone in his office, reviewed the day's footage. It was a routine task. He watched matches quickly, looking for talent worth developing. He almost skipped past fight, but something made him stop. Something felt wrong. He watched the 4 seconds again, then again, then again. On the 17th viewing, he finally understood what he was seeing. Every movement made was perfect. Not perfect as in good, perfect as in controlled to the smallest muscle. When she fell in a way that protected her completely. When she rose in a way that revealed nothing about her true abilities. She had not lost the fight. She had performed a loss, like an actress in a play. His crystalline hands trembled as he pulled up her other test results. He watched her run. Her stride was deliberately inefficient. He watched her lift weights. She was holding back, masking her real strength. He watched her reaction tests. She was waiting an extra fraction of a second before responding. Everything about her scores was a lie. In 400 years, had never seen anyone control their body with such absolute precision. Humans were not supposed to be capable of this. No species was supposed to be capable of this. He called an emergency meeting with the Academy Council. Commandant arrived 20 minutes later. She was a human woman in her 60s, one of the first human admirals in the coalition. Cybernetic implants glowed softly beneath her skin. "This better be important," she said. "It's the middle of the night." Showed her the footage without speaking. Watched it once. Her expression did not change, but her mechanical eyes zoomed in, analyzing details no natural eye could see. "She lost on purpose," said quietly. "Every movement was calculated to reveal nothing. She wanted us to think she was weak." Leaned back in her chair. "Have you checked her background file?" "Most of it is classified, heavily redacted. I've never seen so much black ink on a recruit file." Was silent for a long moment, then she stood. "Say nothing to anyone. From this moment she is watched, every second, every breath. I want to know what she eats when she sleeps and where her eyes look when she thinks no one is watching." She walked to the door and paused. "In your 400 years, have you ever classified a recruit as a threat level above planetary?" "Never, Commandant." Nodded slowly. "Neither have I, but I'm beginning to think this girl might be our first." She left without another word, and in her small room, lying perfectly still in her bed, stared at the ceiling with open eyes. She had heard everything through the listening device she had planted in his office on her first day. She allowed herself one small smile in the darkness. They were finally starting to notice. A classified file was created that night. They called it Project Stillwater. Only 7 people in the entire station knew it existed. Its name was at the center of every document. Hidden sensors were installed in her room, in her classroom, in the training halls she walked through. Tiny machines smaller than dust floated in the air around her, recording everything. They tracked her eye movements. They measured her heart rate. They analyzed every tiny expression on her face. Commandant assigned a human intelligence officer named to watch the recordings. He was 32 years old, quiet and careful. He had spent 10 years studying enemy agents. He knew how to spot deception. For 3 weeks, watched every moment. He watched her eat breakfast alone. He watched her attend classes in silence. He watched her lose sparring matches and score average on every test. And he found nothing. "She's too clean," he reported to. "No one is this boring. She never makes mistakes. She never shows frustration. She never relaxes. It's like watching someone who knows they're being watched." "Does she know?" asked. "Impossible. Our surveillance is invisible. Even other intelligent species can't detect it." Tapped her fingers on her desk. "Then she's simply living as if she's always being watched, as if she's been doing this her entire life." Continued his campaign to befriend. Every day he sat with her at meals. He talked about his home, his family, his dreams of becoming a starship captain. Never responded, but she never moved away either. "I think she likes me," told one evening. "She looked at me for almost 5 seconds today." Laughed. "You're setting a very low bar for friendship." But had started watching too. Not because she liked her, because something felt wrong, was always observing. Her eyes moved constantly, tracking every person who passed, every camera in the ceiling, every door and window and ventilation shaft. "She's mapping the station," realized one day. She's memorizing everything, every security patrol, every blind spot, every weakness. She almost reported this to the instructors, but something stopped her, a strange feeling that she should wait and see what happened. The accident came in the 4th week. Was walking along a platform walkway high above the engineering section. He was talking to another recruit, not paying attention to his feet. He stepped on a loose panel and slipped. For one terrible moment, he hung over a drop of 200 meters. His fingers scraped against metal, finding no grip. Then was there. She caught his wrist and pulled him to safety in one smooth motion. It happened so fast that barely understood what had happened. 1 second he was falling. The next second he was standing on solid ground. "Thank you," he gasped, his heart pounding. "You saved my life." Looked at him with no expression. Then she stumbled slightly, as if the effort had tired her. She leaned against the railing and took deep breaths. "Are you okay?" asked. She nodded and walked away slowly, like someone who had used all their strength. That night, reviewed the footage of the incident 17 times. The catch had taken 0.3 seconds, had crossed 4 meters in that time. Her movement was so fast that individual frames showed only a blur. But it was what happened after that disturbed him most. Her stumble was fake, her tired breathing was fake, her slow walk was fake. She had saved life and then immediately hidden how she had done it. Even in a moment of crisis, her first instinct was to appear weak. "What is she hiding?" whispered to his empty office. The midterm examination arrived. It was a simulation of a planetary invasion. Recruits were divided into teams and dropped into a massive training environment. Enemy drones hunted them. The goal was survival. His team was ambushed within the first 10 minutes. The enemy had perfect information about their location. They were killed one by one until only remained. The instructors expected her to be eliminated quickly. A single recruit against an army of drones was hopeless. But did not fight, she disappeared. For 4 hours, she moved through the training environment like a ghost. The drones could not find her. Their sensors could not detect her. She disabled tracking systems so quietly that they didn't know they were broken. She rerouted patrol patterns by making tiny changes to their programming. At one point, the footage showed her standing 3 feet behind an enemy commander drone for 6 full minutes. It never detected her presence. She was right there, breathing quietly, and it had no idea. When the simulation ended, was the only survivor in her group. She walked out of the training environment with the same empty expression she always wore. Commandant watched the footage in silence. Then she pulled up records. Most of the file was black. Entire pages were hidden, but a few lines were visible. Birthplace, Colonial Settlement 7 Sector. Family deceased. Incident classified, level Omega Black. Survivors 1. Sole survivor, age at event 7 years old. Village population at time of incident, 340. Stared at those numbers for a long time. 340 people, 1 survivor, a 7-year-old girl. She searched for more information about the incident but found only walls of classification. Whatever had happened on that distant colony was buried so deep that even her admiral clearance could not reach it. But something had happened, something that turned a 7-year-old child into whatever was now. The next day noticed something strange. An alien diplomat had started attending academy events. He was a species known for their vast intelligence networks. No one had invited him. No one questioned his presence. He simply appeared in corners and watched. And his eyes always found. Called to her office. "We're not the only ones watching her," she said. "They know something. They've known longer than we have." "What do we do?" Looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there was a dead colony where 340 people had died and 1 girl had lived. "We keep watching. and we pray that whatever she's planning, it's not aimed at us. In her room that night, sat on her bed and cleaned her nails. Her movements were slow and careful. Anyone watching would think she was just a normal girl doing a normal thing. But her mind was elsewhere. She was counting days, measuring time, calculating how long until they understood. They had noticed her strength. They had noticed her skills. They had noticed she was hiding something. But they had not yet asked the right question. They had not yet asked why. Soon, she thought, soon they would dig deeper. Soon they would find the classified files. Soon they would understand what came to her village when she was 7 years old. And then they would realize that she was not hiding from them. She was preparing for something else entirely. Something that was coming back. Rumors spread through the academy like fire. A representative from the Pale Council was coming to visit. No one had ever seen a member of the Pale Council. They were ancient beings, older than most star systems. They had guided galactic civilization for millions of years from the shadows. Some people believed they were myths. Others believed they were gods. But now one of them was coming to Station Prometheus, and no one knew why. The recruits whispered in hallways. The instructors pretended not to be nervous. Even Commandant seemed tense, checking security protocols again and again. Only showed no reaction. She ate her meals. She attended her classes. She lost her sparring matches. Nothing changed. A senior cadet named noticed her calm. He was the Academy's combat champion, tall and strong with perfect technique. He had won every tournament for 3 years. He was also arrogant, proud of his skills and eager to prove his superiority. "You," he called out to in the training hall, "the silent one, I've heard stories about you." Looked at him, her face showed nothing. "They say you're hiding something. They say you're better than you pretend to be," smiled. "I don't believe it. I think you're just a scared little girl who can't even speak." Other recruits gathered to watch. Started to step forward, wanting to defend his friend, but held him back. "Let her handle this," whispered. "I want to see what she does." "Fight me," said. "A real match. No simulations, no rules. Let's see what you're really made of." Tilted her head slightly, then she nodded once. The news spread quickly. By the time they reached the sparring ring, hundreds of people had gathered. Instructor was there, watching with his crystal eyes. The diplomat stood in a corner, silent and still. Even some of the Academy Council members attended. Stretched his muscles and grinned at the crowd. "This will be quick," he announced. Stepped into the ring. She stood relaxed, her arms at her sides. She did not take a fighting stance. The match began. Attacked with devastating speed. His fists and feet moved in perfect combinations that had defeated every opponent he had ever faced. He was a storm of violence, beautiful and deadly. Fell again and again. She blocked nothing. She dodged nothing. She simply absorbed his strikes and collapsed to the ground, only to rise and face him again. The match lasted 3 minutes. When it ended, stood victorious, breathing hard but smiling. Lay on the mat, bruised and still. "I told you," said to the crowd, "she's nothing." He walked away without looking back. But in the crowd, certain observers remained motionless. Instructor's crystal face had cracked slightly from tension. The diplomat's eyes had not blinked once during the entire fight. That night, delivered his report to Commandant. During the entire match, her heart rate stayed at resting pace. Her pupils never dilated. Her stress hormones never increased. He paused. Biologically, her body experienced no combat. It was like she was sleeping. "She didn't feel the fight," said slowly. "She didn't react to it at all. The pain, the threat, the danger, nothing touched her. I've never seen anything like it. Even trained assassins show some biological response to violence." Was quiet for a long moment. "What does it mean?" "I don't know, but I know one thing. Whatever broke inside her when she was 7 years old, it broke completely. She's not pretending to be fearless. She actually doesn't feel fear anymore. Maybe she can't." 3 days later, the Pale Council's representative arrived. She came in a ship that seemed to be made of folded light. Her species was unknown. Her age was impossible to guess. Her face was hidden behind a veil that shifted like smoke. When she walked, she made no sound. The entire station fell silent as she passed. She met briefly with Commandant and the Academy Council. She thanked them for their hospitality. She praised the quality of their recruits. Then she made her request. I wish to speak with the quiet human girl, the one called in private. The council members looked at each other in shock. No one had told her about, no one had mentioned Project Stillwater, yet she knew. They arranged the meeting in a small room with no surveillance. This was the representative's only requirement. No recordings, no observers, just her and. The meeting lasted 11 minutes. When the representative emerged, her movements had changed. She was slower, uncertain. Her hands trembled beneath her robes. Commandant approached her carefully. Are you all right? What happened? The ancient being turned to face her. Behind the shifting veil, something like emotion moved across features that had not shown feeling in recorded history. She spoke, the representative said. For the first time since she arrived, she spoke. What did she say? The representative was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller. She told me what she saw when she was 7. She described the thing that came to her village. She explained what it did, how it moved, how it thought, how it killed. Felt cold. What thing? What are you talking about? She told me what she learned from watching it for 19 hours while everyone around her died. She learned its patterns, its methods, its weaknesses. The representative's voice dropped to a whisper, and she told me what she's been waiting for. What is she waiting for? Its return. The ancient being moved toward the door, stepped in front of her. Tell me what you know. What is she? Why does the Pale Council care about one human girl? The representative stopped. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she placed one withered hand on shoulder. Commandant, you must understand something. She is not your weapon. She is not anyone's weapon. She is something we have not seen in 14 billion years. She is a response. A response to what? To the thing that is coming. The thing that destroyed her village was not random. It was a scout, an examiner. It tested humanity and found you beneath notice. Too weak, too primitive, not worth destroying. The representative leaned closer. But it made a mistake. It left a witness. One small girl who watched and learned and survived. And in 12 years, that girl has become something that should not exist. A being who cannot be predicted, cannot be read, cannot be understood. She moved past toward the door. When it returns, and it will return, she will be ready. The question is whether the rest of your species will be ready to follow her into the darkness she has made her home. She left without another word. Stood alone in the empty corridor for a long time. Then she went to find. Commandant found in the observation deck, staring at the stars. For once, the girl was not pretending to do something else. She simply stood at the window, her reflection floating in the glass like a ghost. You know why I'm here, said. Nodded slowly. She did not turn around. Will you tell me everything? For a long moment was silent. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft and clear, almost musical. It was strange to finally hear it after months of silence. I was 7 years old. My village was new. 340 colonists on a planet no one cared about. We were farmers, simple people trying to build a home. She touched the glass with one finger. It came at night. No warning, no sound. Just a light in the sky that grew and grew until it blocked the stars. Something descended. Something that was not alive but was not dead. Something old. Older than planets, older than time. Listened without moving. It did not attack us. Attack is the wrong word. It examined us. It wanted to understand what humans were, how we worked, how we thought, how we broke. His voice remained steady. There was no emotion in it. She spoke like someone reading a report. It took them apart, one by one, not cruelly, not kindly, just carefully. Like a child pulling wings off a fly to see what happens. I watched my mother die, my father, my little brother, everyone I knew. It examined them and then it discarded them. Why didn't it take you? Because I didn't run. Everyone else ran or screamed or fought, but I just sat in the corner of my house and watched. I was too scared to move, too scared to breathe. I became so still that it forgot I was there. She turned to face for the first time. For 19 hours I watched it work. I watched how it moved, how it processed information, how it made decisions. I saw its patterns, its blind spots, its limitations. And its fear. Its eyes were empty, dark, like windows into nothing. Yes, I saw its fear. It fears being known, being understood. It operates by being unknowable. When it examines other beings, it holds all the power because it sees everything and reveals nothing. But if something sees it back, truly sees it, then it becomes vulnerable. Sat down slowly. What happened when dawn came? It left. The examination was complete. It had learned everything it wanted to know about humanity. It classified us as beneath notice, too weak, too simple, too short-lived to matter. It would return to its masters and report that humans were no threat. Its masters. I don't know what they are. Something from outside maps space. Something that has been watching the galaxy for longer than stars have existed. The thing that came to my village was just a finger, a tool. The real power is still out there, waiting. Walked to a chair and sat down across from. After it left, I was alone for 3 days before rescue ships arrived. 3 days surrounded by the bodies of everyone I loved. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just thought. What did you think about? How to become invisible, not physically invisible, mentally invisible. The thing read minds. It predicted behavior. It knew what you would do before you did it. But it couldn't read me because I was so still, so empty, that there was nothing to read. She leaned forward. I spent 12 years developing what I call the silence doctrine. It's a way of existing that leaves no trace, no patterns, no predictions, no fear responses, no emotional signatures. You become blank, unreadable, invisible to anything that relies on understanding its prey. That's why you never speak, why you hide your abilities, why you show no emotion. Yes, speaking reveals psychology. Showing strength reveals limitations. Showing emotion reveals vulnerabilities. Every piece of information you give away is a weapon someone can use against you. Understood now. The girl had not been hiding from the academy. She had been practicing, training herself every moment of every day to be undetectable. You said it would return. How do you know? Because its examination was incomplete. It dismissed humanity too quickly. We spread too fast, grew too strong, joined the coalition too successfully. Eventually, its masters will notice that the species they ignored has become something more. They will send another examiner, or something worse. And you'll be ready. I will be, but one person is not enough. Eyes met directly. That's why I came here. I needed to test the coalition, to see if anyone would notice me, to see if anyone could learn what I've learned. Can they? Most species cannot. Their minds are too structured, too logical, too predictable, but humans are different. We evolved through chaos. We adapt. We deceive. We hold grudges for generations. We spite our enemies even when it hurts us. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. Humans are very good at being difficult. She stood and walked back to the window. I came here to find others who could learn the silence doctrine. Noticed me when no one else did. Watched me watching. Even you, Commandant, you didn't dismiss me. You investigated. You questioned. That gives me hope. Joined her at the window. What do you need? A team. Humans only. Volunteers who are willing to train in ways that will break them and rebuild them. People who can learn to become nothing so that something far worse cannot see them coming. And if the thing returns before you're ready. Was quiet for a moment. Then I will face it alone, as I did when I was 7, and I will teach it that the species it dismissed has produced something it cannot understand. She turned to one final time. I am not a weapon, Commandant. I am not a soldier. I am a warning, a message to whatever is out there in the darkness. Humanity saw you, humanity remembers, and humanity does not forgive. Made her decision in that moment. I'm authorizing Project Stillwater to shift from observation to collaboration. You will have your team. You will have resources. You will have everything you need. For the first time since arriving at the academy, smiled. It was small and cold, but it was real. Thank you, Commandant. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because I have children, and I want them to live in a galaxy where something is standing between them and the darkness. She headed for the door. One more question. The pale council representative was terrified after speaking with you. What did you tell her that scared an ancient being so badly? Turned back to the stars. I told her the truth, that I've spent 12 years learning how to kill a god, and that when the time comes, I won't hesitate. Left without another word. And in the silence of the observation deck, continued her watch, counting the stars, measuring the darkness between them. Waiting. 3 years passed. The Stillwater Division grew from an idea into a legend. Trained 47 volunteers, humans only. She broke them down and rebuilt them. She taught them to control their heartbeats, to empty their minds, to move without pattern, to exist without trace. Not everyone survived the training. Some minds shattered under the pressure of becoming nothing. Others simply could not learn to abandon the habits of a lifetime. But those who remained became something new, ghosts in human form, shadows that walked and breathed and waited. Was among the first to complete training. He never lost his smile, but behind his friendly eyes lived something cold and patient now. Became second in command, her sharp mind perfect for planning operations that had no pattern. Then the warning came. 17 systems reported strange readings at the same moment. Something was manifesting across the galaxy. Something vast and ancient and hungry. The coalition fleets mobilized. Thousands of warships moved to intercept the threat. The greatest military force ever assembled prepared for battle. It was not enough. The entity did not fight. It simply undid resistance. Weapons failed. Shields collapsed. Ships forgot how to fly. It was not destroying the fleets. It was erasing their ability to function. In 3 hours, the coalition lost 60% of its military power without a single shot being fired. Commandant sent the order. The Stillwater Division was deployed. Gathered her team in the hangar bay. 46 faces looked at her with eyes that held no fear, no excitement, no emotion at all. You know what we face, she said quietly. You know what we are. We carry no weapons. We send no signals. We follow no patterns. To the entity we will be nothing, empty space, background noise. Stepped forward. What's the objective? The entity has a core manifestation, a central point where its consciousness focuses. If I can reach it, if I can show it what I learned 12 years ago, it will have to respond. It will have to acknowledge that it has been seen. And then we discover if it's possible to frighten a god. They deployed in small ships that produced no detectable signatures. They drifted through space like debris, invisible among the wreckage of destroyed fleets. The entity's presence pressed against their minds like a weight, but they had trained for this. They felt nothing. They thought nothing. They were nothing. For 16 hours, they moved through the occupied systems. They passed through sensor nets that should have detected them. They floated past patrol constructs that should have destroyed them. They existed in the spaces between the entity's attention. But the entity was learning. It had never encountered beings it could not read before. The absence of data was itself data. It began searching for the gaps, the silences, the empty spaces that were too empty. His team was discovered first. "They've found us," his voice came through the communication channel. Calm, steady. 12 minutes until interception. "Fall back," ordered. "Negative. If we fall back, they'll trace our path to you. We need to create noise. Maximum noise." "Understood." She closed her eyes for one moment. "It's okay. I always knew this was possible. You gave me 3 extra years, 3 years of purpose. That's more than most people get." He cut the communication. Moments later, his ship's engines ignited at full power. Every sensor in the system turned toward the sudden burst of activity, flew directly at the nearest construct, broadcasting on every frequency, making himself the loudest thing in the galaxy. The entity focused on him, examined him, erased him. But in those precious seconds of distraction, his team slipped through. They lost 11 more people reaching the core manifestation, 11 more sacrifices, 11 more friends who smiled and said goodbye and became noise so that silence could advance. Finally, only remained. The core manifestation hung in space like a tear in reality. Through it, she could see something vast, something that existed in dimensions her mind could not process. Eyes that were not eyes looked at her. A voice that was not a voice spoke in her thoughts. "You are one human, you have traveled far, you have lost much, but you cannot stop what we are." Stood before the infinite darkness and felt nothing. No fear, no awe, no despair. She had emptied herself so completely that even a god's presence could not fill her. "I know," she said aloud. "I cannot stop you. I am small, mortal, temporary. You are eternal. You have ended civilizations older than my entire species." She stepped closer to the manifestation. "But I can do something worse than stopping you. I can see you." She opened her mind, not to let the entity in but to show it what was inside. She projected her memory of that night 12 years ago, the village, the screaming, the examination, and then the 19 hours of watching, learning, understanding. She showed the entity its own patterns, its own methods, its own blind spots. Everything she had learned she reflected back like a mirror. The entity recoiled. "You fear being known," continued. "You fear being predictable. For billions of years you have operated by being unknowable. But I know you, I see you, and I have taught others to see you too." "You are one human," the entity repeated, but there was something different in its voice now, something uncertain. "I am one human, but I have spent 12 years teaching others, and those others will teach more. Every child in the coalition will grow up learning your shape, your patterns, your fears. We will watch you for 1,000 years if we must. We will be silent. We will be patient." She smiled. It was cold and hard and promised nothing but endless waiting. "And one day, when you have forgotten us, when you think we are beneath notice again, we will remind you why you should have been afraid of the species you dismissed." The entity was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke one final time. "We will remember you, human. We will watch for your kind among the stars." "Good," said. "Remember us, fear us, because we will never stop watching you." The manifestation folded in on itself. The entity not defeated. Things like this could not be defeated by mortal hands, but it retreated. It chose to wait, to observe, to consider. For the first time in recorded history, something from beyond the mapped galaxy had looked at a mortal species and decided that the cost of engagement was too high. Floated alone in empty space. Around her, the wreckage of fleets drifted like fallen leaves. 35 of her people had died bringing her here. So many others. She did not mourn. She could not mourn. She had cut that part of herself away long ago. But she remembered. She would always remember. The coalition recovered slowly. The surviving fleets regrouped. The damaged systems began rebuilding, and in the classified files of every major power, a new designation was created. Was officially classified as a galaxy-tier threat, not because of what she could destroy, but because of what she represented, a doctrine of resistance that could not be predicted, could not be analyzed, could not be undone. She returned to the academy and resumed her duties. She trained new recruits. She expanded the Stillwater division. She prepared for the next time because there would always be a next time. And she never stopped watching the stars. Years later, a young recruit asked about her. He was an instructor now, older and wiser. He had learned humility the hard way. Is it true she never talks? Watch walk past, her eyes cataloging everything, her footsteps making no sound. She talks, he said quietly, just not to us. She's talking to whatever's out there in the dark, letting it know we're still watching. Does it listen? Thought about the entity's final words. We will remember you. We will watch for your kind. Yes, he said. It listens, and honestly, I think it's afraid. The young recruit looked at the small, silent woman disappearing down the corridor. She seemed so ordinary, so unremarkable, just another human in a galaxy full of wonders. But somewhere out there, beyond the edge of map space, ancient beings stirred and watched and waited. And they did not wait because they were patient. They waited because they had learned to fear the silence. And at the heart of that silence continued her endless vigil, preparing, planning, teaching others to become nothing so that something far worse could never find them. She had been 7 years old when she learned that silence was survival. Now the galaxy was beginning to understand. Silence was not weakness. Silence was not absence. Silence was the sound of humanity learning to become invisible. And in the darkness between stars, that was the most terrifying sound of all.